Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. Today is Wednesday, January 26th, and I'll call this meeting to order. We'll begin this evening with an invocation by Reverend Victoria Lasley of Kernersville Moravian Church.
You may stand if you would like. Please join me in a word of prayer. Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer of us all, may your presence and wisdom help each person here tonight engage in meaningful discussion across all topics. May their words reflect your grace, may their tone reflect your compassion, and may we present ourselves in a way that is pleasing to you. We give our gratitude for all first responders, frontline workers, and individuals in our community who continue to step up to the call of service for their neighbors and community members at large. Thank you for the leadership you have placed on this board with the support of this community. We ask for protection around those who remain unhoused and hungry in these winter months, for those who are sick, and for those who are struggling this day. Enable us, God, to be agents of change and purpose here in Kernersville and beyond, who use the gifts you've placed upon our lives to show love, compassion, and grace to all we meet. Keep fresh in our minds what it means to be people who serve, and do not let us become people who need to be served. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Thank you. You may be seated. Alderman Gorham would like to be here tonight, but he's unable to, so he is watching on the streaming. All right, so we'll begin this evening with our public session and speakers from the floor. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak to the board on a non-agenda item, this is an opportunity to do so. Seeing none, we'll move on to Item 1B, consideration of transportation projects submittals to the Winston-Salem Metropolitan Planning Organization for STBG funding. Mr. Swisher?
Ms. Garner will cover this item and the next item.
Okay, Ms. Garner.
Madam Mayor, we are seeking authorization to resubmit the projects for MPO funding with revised cost estimates based on the increasing cost of construction. These are the same projects that were submitted and approved to the MPO previously, just new numbers based on the rising cost of construction.
All right, and when is this submission due?
February 4th.
Okay, so it's due before our next meeting. All right, are there any questions? Do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. All right, item C is consideration of an ordinance adjusting the membership of the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Adjustment in relation to the 2020 census. And then item D is consideration of an ordinance designating an ETJ seat on the Community Appearance Commission. Ms. Garner?
For item 1C, related to the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Adjustment, state law requires that we have proportional representation of residents within the town limits and within the ETJ limits on our appointed boards. Based on the latest census numbers, we are recommending removing one of the ETJ seats from the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Adjustment. That's a proportional number based on our current population statistics.
Okay, are there any questions? Sure, and could you speak into your microphone, Bill?
One question, Catherine, does the statute that's recited there, does it provide for, if there is an upward census figure, it provides for an adjustment upward as well as specifying an adjustment downward?
I think it just states that it's got to be proportional. So if it were increasing, then we would have to have more seats. And if it was decreasing, then less seats.
So that could at some point in the future reverse itself or
It could.
change in that
Mhm.
direction. Okay, thank you.
All right, are there further questions?
Sorry, how many members now on both are in the ETJ?
I believe on planning board, we have 2 ETJ members, but 1 seat is currently vacant. And then on the zoning board of adjustment, there are 2 ETJ regular members and then 2 ETJ alternate seats. So that way we can establish quorum if not everyone can come. I believe the board of adjustment is fully appointed, but planning board does have 1 vacancy with the ETJ member.
I have a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion by Alderman Thompson, second by Alderman Penix. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. All right, item D.
Madam Mayor and Board, item D is kind of along the same lines as item B that you just approved with the Planning Board and the Board of Adjustment.
And Mr. Swisher, if you can make sure your microphone picks your voice up well.
Okay, it's North Carolina General Statute 160D-307 states that one resident of the entire ETJ Planning and Development Regulation Area be appointed to the Planning Board, Board of Adjustment, Appearance Commission. We currently do not have one, I don't think. Is that correct, Keith?
Yes, we currently allow ETJ members on the Community Appearance Commission. We do not currently have an ETJ member on the Community Appearance Commission, and state law now requires us to designate a seat for an ETJ member the same way we designate one for Planning Board and Board of Adjustment. And just to clarify, we also have vacancies, ETJ vacancies on the Board of Adjustment as well.
So this ordinance that the board is before you tonight will establish that seat on the CAC. As Mr. Hooker mentioned, we have members on the CAC, but we don't have that seat designated for an ETJ resident. So this would do that.
All right, do I have a motion? A motion by Alderman Thompson. Do I have a second? Second by Alderman Penix. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's
And
unanimous.
Madam Mayor, I think we would need to change the date at the bottom. It says adopted this 8th day of February. We on both of them, the one that you just adopted and this one. So we would need to change that to today's date before you sign it.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct. We will revise that date. That was obviously based on when the regular meeting would normally be held. But since we're doing it tonight, when you sign the ordinance, it will say tonight's date.
Do we need to take any further action on either of those items, Mr. Powell? Okay. Yes, Mr. Apple.
When there is an additional member added or when there's a replacement member added, is that something that our nominating committee would designate? Or how are they filled? How are those seats
The
filled?
nominating committee would meet and make a recommendation to the full Board of Aldermen, and the Board of Aldermen would vote at it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
The recommendation was because we knew this was likely that we knew the census results would likely have this result of proportional representation. That's why the nominating committee didn't recommend an ETJ member the last time appointments were made for the planning board. If that answers some of your concerns, Mr. Thompson. All right, so the next item on the agenda is a briefing on the February 8th regular meeting.
Madam Mayor, the first item on the agenda, we do not have any public hearings that night. So the first item will be the speakers from the floor. Then we will move into the other items. The first one of those being the request from the Old Salem chapter of the Antique Automobile Club of America for their cruise-ins once a month from June through October of 2022. This will be, I don't think it's saying there, but probably the 7th year of doing these. And I think they're on the third Saturday of the month, I believe is the day that they hold those. They have all the insurance necessary. And you have the dates actually, June the 9th, July the 9th. I'm sorry, June the 11th, July the 9th, August 13th, September 10th, and October the 8th. They have all the insurance necessary. They hire the required off-duty officers. The South Main is closed from Harmon Lane to Mountain Street, and then Mountain Street's open, and then it's closed again from Mountain Street up to the railroad tracks on North Main. So they leave Mountain Street open so that those folks can come in and go either way to park their cars. They'll be closed from 3 to 7 p.m. Allow them to come in and park, get done, get out, and open the street back up. Been a good event in the years that we've had it. They attract a lot of folks, a lot of cars, a lot of people coming out to look at the cars. So we've never had any issues with that. And we would recommend the board approving the event again on Tuesday night. Be glad to answer any questions that you might have or come up with any before then. Be glad to answer them Tuesday night. Item C is speed limit updates for road name and number changes. This is a request by DOT for state roads that are in the Kernersville jurisdiction. You have a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. They're repealing that on several of the roads, mainly East Mountain Street, North Main Street, and then the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. It states where that will occur also on South Main and North Main, and then another point on Main Street, southwest of Harmon Lane. So they are DOT roads. They send in and request that we concur with that. So they'll be repealing the 45, lowering it to 35, and then the 25 will move up to 35. Item D is surplus property. We try to have 2 or 3 sales a year. So what this is this items that really we don't use anymore. In the case of vehicles, the vehicles are usually beyond their useful life. We've replaced them with a new one. They could have been in an accident, been wrecked, or whatnot. So we will sell those items. We use GovDeals now. That's online, govdeals.org, I believe. And so the board has to approve this list of surplus items. Then we'll put it out there and it will stay advertised for a period of, I think it's 30 days or not. How many days does it stay advertised, Franz? A couple weeks. Yep. So it'll begin on February 22nd at 10 a.m. and then it will end at the designated time that we put forth on the auction site. Be glad to answer any questions if anybody has any.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
What's a Scotchman iron worker? A 40-ton Scotchman iron worker. Just curious.
It's something that you use to bend steel
Doran,
with.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Thanks.
what Mr. Barrow said was exactly what Doran Maltba said.
I've just never heard it called a specific name. Sorry. Thank you.
Now, if you're not in the room, you wouldn't be able to hear that if you're watching streaming. That's why I wanted to repeat.
Item E and item F go together.
I got a question,
All right.
Curtis, before you move on.
Yes, sir.
Y'all are getting rid of all these dumpsters. What's the deal with that?
We are getting out of the commercial dumpster business.
Right.
So those, I'm assuming, are dumpsters that we took back from those commercial businesses. We established sale price for the dumpsters a couple years ago when we started winding down that business. And these, I'm guessing, are the dumpsters that we have not been able to sell through that method. It's what we had. We had a lot of the businesses that chose to buy their dumpster. They would call us and we would sell it. We sold several of our dumpsters to other vendors. These are the ones that we have left. Not all of the ones we have left because we still have some of them out in service. But these are the ones that we have left right now that we've not been able to sell through other methods at this point.
I know that over the years I have rented a dumpster from the town off and on. I found that to be very, very convenient when you were doing some kind of construction or something. And it's been, I don't know, a couple of months ago, they advised me they'd quit doing that.
We have quit doing it if you have it. I think if you have a business in town, if you have a business that we can bill it to, do we still do it, Dawn? Yeah. So even if you don't have, used to, we would allow individuals to call up and rent them. So what we found was we didn't get paid for those a lot of times. And we didn't get social security numbers or anything from the individuals. And really, even if we did, it was not worth the money to go pursue it. So now we only do it in the case is if you have a business that is registered and you have a business license, we will rent you one, because then if you don't pay, we've got other methods to go seek restitution.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but we do not anymore rent them to just individuals that call in. Anything else? All right. Item E and F go together. We've updated the meeting procedures to reflect that the briefing meeting is now a regular meeting where you will vote and take action on items. That was established back in December, I think, when you all were sworn in. And item F reflects that in the schedule, the old schedule on like Wednesday, it said briefing meeting. Now it says regular meeting, and it includes the briefing on the following agenda or whatever it may be. So those two changes reflect the changes of this meeting, which would normally be a briefing meeting, no longer being called a briefing meeting because it is a meeting now where you're taking action on business. So it is a regular meeting of the board, and you also have a briefing on the upcoming agenda. Like you were having a briefing tonight, you went through the business for this meeting, now you're having a briefing on the meeting for February 8th. So the changes are updated in the meeting policy and the meeting schedule. It just makes it a little more clear for some folks that we're used to it being just a briefing, and then all of a sudden the board is taking action at that meeting. Makes it more clear that it's not just a briefing, it is a regular meeting where action will be taken.
What was your estimate of time that was saved at the last meeting by taking action at the Wednesday night meeting? Keith had calculated it.
Yeah, the Wednesday night meeting lasted roughly 2 to 2.5 hours. And the regular meeting, actually the briefing lasted about 2 hours and the regular meeting lasted about 4.5. So in 6.5 hours, had you started at 7 p.m. instead of the 6:30, the board did change it to 6:30. Had you started at 7 p.m., done it all that night, we would have gotten done at 1:30 a.m. When you backed it up to 6:30, we would have gotten done at 1 a.m. So we got out of here at the meeting on that Tuesday night. We got out about 10:30, and the briefing we got out at roughly 8:30. So it got you out of here each night before roughly 11 o'clock, whereas it would have been 12:30, 1 o'clock before. And I think that was the concern of the board, and that was the big driver behind splitting it up. And it's what, for the folks watching, and it's what we've done. As you all know, at the briefing meeting, there was never any action taken. But on some items, I would cover them, and, you basically knew everything about the item, and there was never any questions about it. And then we go into the Tuesday meeting where you did take action on it, and I would cover the same thing again, and then you vote. So it's what we've done is we've tried to, what we will do and try to do, and it's what we've done, is put items on the Wednesday night meeting that are staff items that are brought to you by staff, like tonight, the submittals for the TAC projects, changing the seats on the planning board, ETJ, things like that. Budget amendments, if you've got contracts, items that never really had a lot of citizen input. And if it's one, even if it is a staff item, if it's one that we see will have some citizen input, you all can either vote on it that night, or you can always choose to move it at that meeting, move it to the Tuesday meeting, and then discuss it then. We won't put any public hearings. The only public hearings that we would put on the Wednesday night meeting would be a public hearing on financing for a project. That's required by law. Local government commission requires it. In 14 years, I know of one time when we had someone come in and speak at the public hearing for financing on a project. So, those type items will go on the Wednesday night meeting. Then the items that are more likely to generate some public interest, definitely the public hearings, they will remain on the Tuesday meeting. So it's what it should do is it should really cut each meeting down to, to where you can get some of those items pushed off onto the Wednesday meeting, get done in an hour or 2 hours, and then you move through the Tuesday night meeting faster with the public hearings. So it worked last month. I mean, we would have been in here until about 1 a.m., 1:30. We were here till about 10:30. So.
Well, and the thing is, it's the convenience of the citizens who are attending the meeting in person or watching, and not necessarily our comfort. We'll stay here meet as long as we need to get the business of the people done. We've done that before, and we do it, again. But just the convenience of the people, of everybody watching.
Yeah, and it also, because keep in mind, you have a speaker from the floor, kind of at the end there. So somebody stayed around till the end to speak. I mean, it's like you say, it's kind of helps individuals out as well. So
I think an experience we had recently was that everyone remembers is when we had the changes in state law that affected the various provisions of Chapter 160D. And over the course of a few months, we probably had maybe 16 public hearings to adopt those changes. I don't remember anyone speaking as to any of those changes.
Right.
So those would be public hearings, and they would be something that our citizens have in the past seemed to view as routine. So I think something like that might be considered for the Wednesday night meeting.
Yes, something like that would be, a budget public hearing would stay on Tuesday night. All your zoning cases would stay on Tuesday, but you're exactly right. Those when it was 160D and it was just get through them, open the public hearing, close the public hearing, vote, and move on. We went, like I said, we went through probably 16 or 20 of them and nobody spoke. So they would be on a Wednesday, and that frees up the Tuesday, for the folks that are here with the public hearings that want to speak. They don't have to stay here as late and everything else. So, we think it'll flow better. And it also gives you, and you'll see tonight in a couple items that come up, if something comes up and it has to be voted on before the regular meeting, it gives you an opportunity. You can now put it on the regular meeting on Wednesday night, which we've had that happen a couple times. And we had to twist it around so we can meet the deadline. So it gives you a couple opportunities to do that. And also if something comes up on Wednesday night that the board has questions about, and it's like, hey, I've got a question about this, I need more information, then it's easy just to say, move it to Wednesday night. And if or move it to Tuesday night. But if you're at Tuesday night's meeting and you've got questions about it, well, then you have to wait and move it to the next month. So it gives you that one extra opportunity. If a citizen brings something up, if we have a citizen come up tonight as a speaker from the floor and says, I want to find out about this, that gives us a chance to respond to that citizen faster than what we normally would, because normally if they came up on Tuesday night, because citizens weren't, they didn't speak at the briefing, they didn't have that opportunity before, they come up on Tuesday night. Well, the next time that we could get them that information was the following month. So now, I'm not saying that it would happen every time, but now there's opportunity there anyway. If they come up on Wednesday night, if somebody comes up tonight, it's a possibility that we have them that information next week instead of them having to wait a month. So opens up a lot of possibilities that I think will be good for the citizens, help the meeting run smoother, be good for the board, everything overall. So we'll try it and see how it works. And if it doesn't work, we can always change it back to like it was.
Go ahead, Mr. Apple.
Question, Curtis, I know that under the mayor's leadership that she wants these meetings to be, the public to know that it's going to be one that where we transact regular business and we can't act on those. I may have missed it, but we have a plan to roll that out to the popular media. So other than those who may be looking at the YouTube feed.
Yeah, we put every meeting on our Facebook, so we'll continue to put it on Facebook. We'll put this change on Facebook. We'll contact the news and let them know as well. I think they haven't done an article about the change yet, but they usually do a good job of putting something in about, hey, this is coming up at the meeting. But we'll give them a little something to say, we've kind of changed the format some. We are conducting business on Wednesday night, which would be the regular briefing. And we'll put something out on Facebook as well. And we did last month. Keith and Beth posted it that, we're conducting business. This is what they'll be voting on. So we'll continue to do that on Facebook, and we might put it on Nextdoor as well for the folks that subscribe to Nextdoor. We might put it out. Do we put it on Nextdoor?
We do.
We do. So it's out there, and we'll continue to do that and let them know that, hey, we're not just hearing about the items on Wednesday night. There's some items that we will take action on.
Gotcha. Thank you. I think that's really important that we do. So thank you.
All right, anything else before we move on to the consent agenda? Okay, Mr. Swisher.
And we have the consent agenda. You have items A through E. Chamber event request. That's to hold a recycle day in the town hall parking lot. Resolution setting the dates for Spring Folly. Temporary road closures for Spring Folly. Temporary road closures for the 4th of July parade. And the temporary road closure for the Christmas parade.
All right, any questions about those? Those are all events that we've had for the town of Kernersville multiple years. You've probably attended all of them.
And we'll have some more throughout the year, some different road closures and so forth come to you throughout the year.
All right, that brings us back to tonight's meeting. So we are to the consent agenda for tonight's meeting, which contains approval of minutes for the January 5th briefing, approval of minutes for the January 11 regular meeting. Is there anyone who'd like to remove any of the items that are listed on the consent agenda for separate consideration or corrections to the minutes? Seeing no one in the audience or on the board asking for anything to be removed from the consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve items 3A and 3B of the consent agenda.
I have a motion by Alderman Thompson. Do I have a second? Second by Alderman Penix. All in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. All right,
Mayor, who had the motion and the second on that again?
Chris and Joe. I had a late second coming from this direction, but you didn't get your motion in fast enough. All righty. We are now to the town manager's report at the briefing meeting. Mr. Swisher?
Madam Mayor, I have a couple of items that I'm good example of 2 meetings that I'm going to ask you to add to the agenda for February the 8th. They kind of go together. A little background, we received, and Donnie Lameth, Representative Lameth, came in last meeting, told us about the money that we're receiving from the state, a little over $1.8 million. We received an email, I think it was yesterday afternoon at roughly 3:30, with the letter letting us know that we had received the $250,000 economic development grant. Along with that, you have to submit your proposal by February the 17th. So they gave us about 17 days, basically. So we're working on, there's some parameters around that. We've gotten the grant before, and I may have told the board before when we got it, it wasn't 250,000, it was somewhere around 100,000. It was for downtown economic development. I think this one's a little more broad than that, but we haven't gotten the final parameters. But we have a couple of projects that we think that will fit within those parameters that we will bring to you February 8th. for your approval for us to submit. That doesn't mean that the state will approve them. That just means that that's what we're submitting. If they don't approve it, they'll send it back. So I need to add consideration of projects for the submittal of the grant as one item to be added. Along with that, we have to adopt a new conflict of interest policy. The state has updated the state statutes as they provide or as they relate to conflicts of interest. The policy that you all adopted back in December does not meet what they want to see. So you will have to adopt a new conflict of interest policy. We were working on that. We got it yesterday. We sent ours to the state, and the state said, no, that's not acceptable. So the state has sent us theirs, and we're combining that into ours. We may merge them together and include everything the state wants along with ours, or we may just say, hey, see exhibit whatever. But it also applies to employees as well as board members. So we need to add consideration of a resolution adopting a conflict of interest policy and consideration of projects to be submitted for the I think it's a rural economic development grant or something. We'll have the wording. If you'll just approve putting those both on the agenda, we'll come up with the wording for that for next week. And I can tell you, if you do not adopt the conflict of interest policy, you do not get the money. So, not only do you not get the $250,000, you don't get the $1.8 million. So they kind of narrowed it down to where if you want it, you got to adopt it. But yeah. So
when are we going to get to see that?
We will send it out just as soon as we get it done. HR is working on it now. We hope to have it done. We'll have it done definitely by next week to send it out to you before the February 8th meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Let's vote on them separately. First, I need a motion to amend the agenda to add consideration of, I've looked up the letter, so.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I have consideration of projects to be submitted for a rural economic development grant.
Okay, I was taking legislatively directed grant from that, but.
Mr. Swisher, is that the wording you would like?
I wouldn't exactly word it because there may be other wording other than just rural economic development grant. It's got several other words in there. I would just say, if you will, just make the motion to approve putting consideration of projects for the grant on the agenda.
Okay, how about grant funding?
We'll get the wording.
All right, consideration of projects.
For grant funding.
For grant funding.
Yeah, that'll work.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Apple, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Thompson. All those in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. All right, second motion to add a consideration of conflict of interest policy.
Consideration of a resolution adopting a conflict of interest policy.
Okay.
And if we need to, we'll tweak the wording on that as well.
Do you have that, Keith?
Yes, I have consideration of a resolution establishing a conflict of interest policy.
Because we already have one.
We do have one, but ours is a code of ethics policy. So ours is a resolution adopting a code of ethics for the Kernersville Board of Aldermen, and our conflict of interest policy is in that. So we have to update that.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Bill Apple. I have a second by Chris Thompson. All those in favor? It's unanimous.
I have one more item, Madam Mayor. The real-time crime center down in the PD is about up and running. And if Chief Summers has said if you all would like to come take a tour of that, if a couple of you want to go before the board meeting on the 8th and a couple of you after, if 3 of you go, we've got to put out a public meeting notice, so it'd be better if 2 of you go at a time so we don't have to do that. But anytime really, contact me or contact Chief Summers and let him know. We'll have someone there to kind of show you how that operates and how that works. It's up and running. We've reached out to some of the businesses to be on board with their cameras as well. So just let him know when you like to go see it. But February 8th, that day, or somewhere in that, anytime really probably after this week, is just let him know, and you can go down and take a look at it. We'll have it up and running for you.
How long is the tour?
It could be a few minutes for an hour.
Okay.
We just want to be able to get this done and present to you guys.
Mr. Swisher, could you hand Chief Summers our microphone? Thank you.
We just want to get this out to you all so that you can see it before we do the public press release. And then that way the public can start registering their cameras as well with us. And right now we've got several businesses on it so you can see how it works.
Okay, thanks.
So the first part of the answer was it could be just a few minutes or a little bit longer if you have questions.
Yeah, however long it takes, if a few minutes just to see it, see how it works and how we pull it up and how the cameras operate. Or if you got questions, it can be as long as you need to until you understand it. Or until I understand it as well. So I'll have somebody there that works on it and runs it full time.
Thanks.
I saw a demonstration at Forsyth County Sheriff's Department, and I saw our police department set up as we were having it installed, and it's quite impressive. You can see maps of the community. You can see where the cameras are, where people have given permission to get video feeds later on of the cameras if it might have caught some criminal activity that the detectives are investigating. So it's really shortens that time that traditionally was between when a police officer would knock on your door and say, did you see anything on this day? It can shorten that time to just a fraction of the time and really help with law enforcement efforts.
And also, thanks to IT, you can pull it up and see where the officers are around town and live as they're moving and where they're at. Thank you.
And I don't have anything else for tonight.
All right, Ed, do you have anything tonight besides the closed session? Other than the closed session, do you have anything else tonight?
I'd just like to say, I think it's an exciting time for the town because this afternoon, the Boom Aircraft Company announced the setting up of a factory here at the airport that will employ 1,761 people right away at an average salary of $69,000 a year. And it absolutely have a good pour over effect on our community, I think, as well. And it's a very exciting time, I think, in the economy of this area.
Thank you.
We do need to have a closed session.
Thank you. Mr. Penix? Not quite yet. Mr. Thompson?
No, I have nothing. Thank you.
Mr. Apple? Mr. Barra?
Yeah, I'd like to know where we're at on the noise ordinance.
I'm glad you brought that up. I meant to update the board on that.
If you kind of update us on where we're
Yeah, I
at.
contacted an acoustical engineer, and I know Andy was talking about a sound engineer, but I think the sound engineer he was referring to is mainly one that adjusts the sound and whatnot on the stage. There are acoustical engineers that go out and do studies in communities, measure sound decibel levels, so forth. I contacted one on Wednesday or Thursday, right after our last board meeting. I sent them our current noise ordinance and the proposed noise ordinance. And I asked them, I said, my board is looking for someone to come in and take decibel readings in the different zoning districts of town and to come in and recommend an appropriate decibel level for those areas and also an appropriate decibel level for the situation that we have with Mr. Kennedy with the stage beside of a residential. Sent that to him. That was on a Thursday. I had not heard back last week on by Friday, so I emailed the gentleman. He said he had received it. He had gotten with the company's owner who does, I think, the outside work, and he said he would get back to me with a proposal. He also said that they're extremely busy and it might be a little longer than what I'd hoped for because I told him I needed it kind of like the day before. So I've not heard back from him. It's Stewart engineering firm, I think out of Raleigh is who it is. There are not really any in the immediate area that I could find. Most of them in the Triad area do noise studies and so forth inside of industrial buildings. They go in and tell you, the best way to set the machines up and whatnot. So I'm still looking to try to find one locally if I can find one that can do it sooner. But right now I've not heard back from him. That's kind of where we stand. My guess is it probably will be March before he can come in and make a recommendation and so forth. So, and he might simply take our noise ordinance and say, hey, from my years of experience, these are the decibel levels that you want, and then come out and maybe make a recommendation in the particular case with entertainment venues with outdoor entertainment. He's not said which one he would really do yet.
Okay. Thank you, Curtis.
Mr. Apple.
Follow-up question to that, Curtis. Will it be possible, or would it be appropriate for whatever consultant we retain to actually do a public presentation to us of findings so that the public will know what we're looking at in terms of?
It would certainly be something, if the board wishes, I can ask them and see if they do that. Most of them do. Most of them will come in and make recommendations at the board. So I'll be glad to ask them if that's something the board would be for them to come in and do a public presentation.
I think it'd be good for us to hear at the same time what they have to say, and then we'd all got to have an opportunity to ask questions of them at the same time, similar to what we did with the road condition.
Yeah, I'll certainly be glad to put that in the scope of work when he contacts me with his proposal.
I have not talked about that with the mayor, so we may want to, consider that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. So I would like my comments to pick up on what Mr. Powell was talking about boom supersonic. This is a symbol that I think we will start seeing all over Kernersville. I was invited by the airport authority to attend the economic development announcement today, and it was just a great honor to be there to represent Kernersville. Of course, it was kind of it was a very quiet project. There were a lot of meetings this morning that finalized it, but Donnie Lambeth was recognized for his efforts in helping to get the funding into through the state that has helped with that. But so a lot of state support, county support, and local support was given to make this project happen. But it's going to be a $500 million investment. As Mr. Powell said, 1,750 jobs. They're planning to have their first flights in 2029. Kind of interesting, it's a Colorado-based company, and one of their criteria was having a good workforce. Having something what Kernersville prides itself on is having the area near their facility to be a place where their employees would like to live. And, we've taken a lot of efforts to have that wonderful atmosphere in Kernersville and the sense of place and those steps. And that was one of their company's criterion. They're also looking to be close to the ocean so they could test the planes over the ocean. And Jeff Hatling, now Catherine Garner, and many of the people who've been involved with the town of Kernersville for a long time, and this board have been very supportive of efforts to work with regional cooperation for development of a mega site at the airport that used to be called Aerotropolis. So this is really the same pieces of property and that same idea. It was really exciting to be at the airport today and see the land that had been cleared for this and to meet the people involved. But they're expecting over 20 years the economic impact to be $32.3 billion. The airplane is called Overture, and it'll be, I think, a little faster than the Concorde. Their international travel times cut in half, opening up more destinations, more possibilities, and they're calling it their super factory. And They are planning to work with the North Carolina colleges, including A&T and the other engineering schools in the state, to place 200 interns in their company through 2032. So to give local students an opportunity to learn, and their goal is for their planes to be carbon neutral. So just really exciting for our area, something really innovative and forward thinking, and a lot of people were involved in making it happen, but just really exciting news for the Triad. So be sure to look at some of the press and that kind of thing. There were a lot of media there. I did a quick search before I came to the meeting tonight, and CNBC's picked it up. So there's a lot of economic development projects in the state that get statewide attention, but not all of them get national, and this one possibly international attention. So it's a very exciting day for our area. So, all right. With that, if there's nothing further, we'll have our motion for our closed session.
Madam Mayor, pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318, on 11A3, I move that the board go into closed session to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged and pursuant to A-5 regarding a contract concerning the purchase of real property.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Alderman Penix, second by Alderman Thompson. All those in favor? It's unanimous. This board is now in closed session. Welcome back to the meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. We've just finished our closed session. Is there any further business before the board in open session this evening?
No.
Seeing none, do I have a motion to dismiss? A motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I've got a motion by Mr. Thompson, a second by Mr. Apple. All those in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.